Welcome to today's live. I am Lily and I am the AmeriCorps for this year at the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center. So today we are going to be doing our live on skulls and bones and fossils and kind of what the differences are, what similarities, and we're just going to have fun with it. So I'm going to give you a second. I want you to try and figure out what animals these are. I will give you a hint in that they are both from Africa. And I'm going to get started in just a minute. So feel free to put any of your guesses in the comment section. Okay, so as far as I know, we haven't had anyone come in yet with any comments, so I'm going to go ahead and reveal the answer. So this one on your right, I believe it's your right, is a giraffe. So you can see the little horns up on the top of the head kind of give it away, and we can see too the teeth. They look pretty flat. It might be hard to see on your screen, but that means that they're probably going to be an herbivore. And as we know, giraffes like to eat leaves and branches, so they are herbivores. The one over here might be a little bit harder. It kind of looks like a big, huge alien skull of some weird thing, but it's a hippo. And it's kind of strange. You can see these big teeth down here. But hippos do have giant teeth, and this kind of shows that just because a skull might look a certain way, it might look totally different on the actual animal. So it can be really challenging to figure out what animal a skull belongs to. So like I said, we're going to talk about bones and fossils today. I'm going to be focusing mostly on skulls out of the bones and fossils. And if you guys have any questions throughout this, or any comments, or if there's something you want to see, just put in the comments section, and I have Tiffany here, and she's going to let me know if anyone's saying anything on Facebook. So, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about what a fossil is versus what's a bone. So a fossil is going to be something that has been preserved over many, many years. There are two types of fossils. So there's going to be a body fossil, which is usually bone, and there are trace fossils. And a trace fossil is something that was left behind by the animal or a plant. So whatever the living thing was. A trace fossil is usually something like tracks, or if an animal left marks on something, so like scratching or claws, or it could even be their feces or their poop, which when fossilized, that is called coprolite. So that's a fun fact. But yeah, so a fossil is going to be something, though, that's been underground for a long, long, long time. And a bone, on the other hand, this is definitely something that was part of an animal skeleton. It was part of something that was alive at one point. I'm going to be focusing mostly on animals that are deceased. So what I'm talking about with these bones are bones that were a part of a living animal, not one that's still a part of a living animal. So these bones are ones that have not been underground very long. And you can kind of see in the pictures that you can see their color is really different too. And that also has to deal with them being underground for a long time. Oops, wrong way. So how is a body fossil, which is, you know, a bone, different from a bone? Well, what we see is that a body fossil is a bone that's been underground for probably at least 10,000 years, if not longer. Most of the time it's longer. And it's been turned into a rock. So what I mean is that an animal dies and it gets buried underneath layers and layers and layers of dirt and sediment. And this puts a lot of pressure on the bone and the animal, and eventually that bone gets so much pressure that it becomes a rock. And usually it's a sedimentary rock. And I can show you, so this is a picture of the oldest python. I have a note here. The oldest python that's ever been found. It's 47 million years old, and it was found in Germany. Whoops. Let me go back. And you can see all of its bones and its skull, and it's very, very well preserved. It's the best preserved, oldest snake skeleton that we have. And I also have some fossils here that I'm going to show you. So this fossil is a trilobite. These guys lived millions and millions of years ago in the oceans, and you can see they had a really hard shell. And you can also see that this trilobite, the fossil itself, is surrounded by rock. And like I said, this is because over many millions of years, all of the dirt and stuff that the trilobite died around has also become rock. Hi, Christy. Thanks for joining us. So the next fossil I'm going to show you is a shark vertebrae. So hopefully this will be able to focus. Try to hold it still. So shark vertebrae are pretty small, and it's really cool that this was actually fossilized because shark vertebrae are not super hard. And you can see in the middle here, there's what looks like dirt, and that's actually rock. So as we know with vertebrae, you have a spinal cord that goes down through your vertebrae to keep you, to keep us upright, or to keep a shark kind of like this or horizontal. So this middle part has been completely covered with rock, which is really cool. So as this had pressure put on it by all of the layers and layers of sediment, this became a mineral itself and became a rock and a fossil. Again, if you guys have any questions about anything that I'm saying or about anything in general, just put them in the comments and I am happy to answer. So now let's talk about who would possibly work with these things. We have someone who's going to work with fossils. It's called a paleontologist. So I think we all know this word, and we talk about it with dinosaurs a lot. So a paleontologist is someone who works with dinosaurs, but they also work with other fossils. So this could be plants or maybe extinct things that were in the water, like really, really old fish or shark. And a paleontologist is going to be someone who only works with fossils. They're not working with animals that are going to be still alive. On the other hand, a zooarchaeologist is someone who looks at animal bones that may have been underground, but these are animals that haven't been underground very long. So we're talking less than 10,000 years. And As you can see this guy has a really deep in rock and bone, and he's trying to dig it out. And these aren't nearly like that. So all of these bones for the zooarchaeologist have not turned to rock yet. They are still bone. And zooarchaeologists, what they can do is they accompany an archaeologist, which will go out and look at ancient human civilizations and areas, and a zooarchaeologist can come out and talk about the bones that they find. So they will find bones in like trash pits or in fire pits, or even around burial sites, and it can tell us what kind of animals that civilization used to eat, or what they kept as pets, or even how they use them in like jewelry or things like that. So I think got something here. Okay, so what is a vertebrae and how old is a vertebrae? So a vertebrae is what makes up your spine. So everyone's spine has a bunch of little, let me get this guy out again. So this is one vertebrae. We have a bunch of vertebrae like all stacked up on each other, and that's what creates our spine. So if you can kind of feel your back a little bit, you can feel almost like little bumps, and that's each vertebrae that you're feeling. So I don't know how old this vertebrae is. I know it's very, very old, but all living things that have a spine have vertebrae. So hopefully that answered your question, and thank you for asking. Okay, so the next couple slides, I am going to be testing you guys a little bit, or seeing what you guys know. So one slide is going to have a predator skull on it. The next slide is going to have, or not just a predator, but a carnivore. The next slide is going to have an herbivore, and then another slide will have an omnivore. I want you guys to try and figure out what animal you think the skull belongs to. So all of these animals are going to be native to the area, so like Spokane in the Northwest, and see if you can figure it out. You can use things like their teeth, or I have some measurements on the board so you can see like how big they are, or where their eyes are is another good one. So let's pick the first one up. So I want you to try to figure out what animal is this, and I do have some skulls here, and remember that these are not fossils at this point. These are bones because they haven't been underground very long, if at all. So, as you look at this picture, I also want you to check out the skull. So you can see, if you have a hard time seeing that, its teeth are kind of flat in the back. They have big canines, and then they've got some incisors in the front. It has pretty forward-facing eyes, and it's a pretty big head. And all of the animals I have here are mammals. And if you have any guesses, feel free to put it in the comments. I can show you like this too. So again, you can see the teeth are pretty flat back here, and they go sharp, and then if you came to our drive-by zoo back in October, I was showing these skulls, so you might have a little advantage. And if you were there and you know, be sure to comment. So, do you have anyone? Okay. So, this is going to be a, oh, I showed the wrong one. My bad. I made a mistake. and I thought this was the omnivore that I put up first. It's actually the wolf. So this is actually my wolf skull. So I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I'm going to show you the wolf skull and explain now. So you can see that the teeth back here are all really sharp, and the ones up here are sharp too. So this means that it's a predator, so it's going to be eating mostly meat. It's carnivore. And we can see these sharp teeth back here are really meant for ripping and tearing into their prey. And you can see on this picture too that its teeth look just like the ones in the skull, which is how we know that the skull is a wolf skull. And I'm going to show you a smaller skull too. This one, if you have any guesses, I think we have a pretty big delay, so if you guys do have guesses and I'm not seeing them, I'm super sorry. But this is a coyote skull. So again, it has very similar teeth as the wolf skull. Very sharp in the back and big canines. And that's because they both eat a lot of other animals. So, sorry I messed that up a little bit there. But this one, everyone should be able to kind of figure out. So I want you to figure out what animal this is. You can go ahead and put it in the comments. And we can see that it has really flat teeth back here, kind of a long face. Its eyes are more sideways than forward. And it's got these big old antlers. So I have one right here I can show you. And let's take a look at their teeth, because this is a big way to tell and narrow it down what kind of animal it could be. So its teeth are really flat in the back, and we can kind of think, why would it be flat? What kind of food would it be eating so that it would be really flat? What kind of food has to be crushed a lot? If you're saying plants, you're right. Plants would have to really be crushed and ground down a lot in our teeth. So that's why we have molars in the back to help us with all that plant matter. So if you like to eat salads and vegetables. This animal also likes to eat things like grass and leaves. So since this one I feel like you guys probably got, it's a deer. I'm not 100% sure what kind of deer this was, but if you wanted to know, you could figure that out by doing more tests, and that's too deep into this for me though. But, yeah. So the next one, so this is the skull I showed you the first time. It's got flat teeth in the back and sharp teeth in the front. So, like I said, this is the skull I showed you at the beginning, and I think we got to guess that it is a bear, and I think that's a pretty good guess. So, but I'm going to let you guys think a little bit more on it. But we can see that teeth back here are flat, which means that it probably does eat some things like our herbivore did, but it also has these really sharp canines and sharp teeth, so it probably does also eat prey like our wolf did. It is a bear. So good job for the person who guessed bear. That was great. And we can see in this picture too, you can see that it's got these flat teeth back here and the big sharp canines still. And we know that bears eat things like berries and other fruits, but they also will eat other animals too. So they are omnivores. And if you actually look at your own teeth, ours look kind of similar. Our canines obviously aren't that big, but we eat a little bit of everything just like bears do. So our teeth are kind of similar setup, where we have really flat molars in the back, and then sharp canines and like some sharp incisors in the front. So when we're looking at bones, we want to try and use these things like teeth and the size and even like what it feels like in order to identify what kind of animal this might have been. And like I said, zooarchaeologists use this to be able to tell us more about humans and us as a civilization, how we lived in the past, which is really cool. And I'm going to give another like couple seconds to see if we have any questions or anything else that we want to explore in this topic. I will mention different animal bones have different weights. So like a bird skull or bird bones are going to weigh a lot less than like a mammal, and this is because birds fly, and so they have to be really light, and their bones have to be really light. So someone said it was really cool to see a bear skull, and I'm very glad that you enjoy it. I love these skulls. I love being here at the OLC, but one of the things I really enjoy doing is going through these skulls and trying to figure out what animals they were. It's kind of like a puzzle, and I like figuring those out. While I wait a couple more seconds, just because I know we had a big delay, I'm going to throw up a couple more skulls. So, this is a raccoon skull. So we know that raccoons are omnivores. So when we look at their teeth, they look a lot like the bears. They have flat teeth back here and a sharp canine. And what's left of their incisors are also pretty sharp. But it's a lot smaller than the bear. As we know, raccoons are a lot smaller. Something that's really different, I have to be really careful with this one because it broke, is, who can guess what this is? It's a beaver. So you can see their teeth are kind of a different color, and this is just because beaver teeth are kind of exposed to the air when they're living, and so it gives it that different color. But you can see this guy, just look at the skull, is pretty cool. He's got flat teeth in the back because we know that beavers are going to eat other herbivores, so they have to be able to chew all that stuff while they use their big incisors to be able to cut down all of those trees. And bone is kind of neat. I'll show you guys this quick and then I will sign off. But when it breaks apart, so we can see this broke apart, that's why I have to be careful, it actually is really easy to put back together. And it kind of just fits together like a puzzle. The tooth's getting in the way, sorry. Just like this. Now I can't get it because I can't see. There we go. Just like this. So, all bone is like that. I don't know. If you guys have any questions, or you think of anything, even over the weekend, feel free to comment on the live or on any of the posts that we've made this week. I don't believe we have any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I enjoyed talking to you guys this week, and have a good weekend. Bye.